Flight attendants and pilots of Reddit. What are some things that happen mid-flight that only the crew are aware of? There's a special frequency called GARD that all aircraft are supposed to monitor. It's for emergencies, or for when an aircraft ends up on a wrong frequency and the controllers need to get contact with them to change them to the right frequency. It's full of pilots meowing at each other, and people accidentally asking for gate assignments and making other radio calls. An instructor told me that he and his training buddy both fell asleep for about 45 minutes at the same time while gaining hours for licensing. The plane was in complete autopilot mode, clear skies, zero turbulence. They both swore if they ever flew again they would hand off sleep like handing off the controls. Edit. For further context, he told me that after both of them awoke, they were freaking terrified. Neither had no idea what had happened, even if anything had happened. Luckily, it was over the Gulf of Mexico and at a low enough altitude where it wouldn't impact commercial airliners. Their trim was set before the nap, so they only gained a couple hundred feet of altitude. But rest assured, each were not happy with themselves. They immediately contacted ATC, verified their position, and turned around to go back to the airport, white palming the yoke the entire way. Oh, and this was at night too. They needed the night experience. Pilot is sleeping and co-pilot is flying and there are dead bodies in the cargo. Different airlines have different protocol for people dying mid-flight. Virgin Atlantic use a row of seats they keep reserved for this sort of thing, whilst Singapore Airlines have a lovingly named corpse cupboard where people can be moved to. How they do this without alerting everyone I don't know, but it does exist. A former teacher told us a story that fits the question. Every year he would make trips to Europe that were for an educational experience, or related to the subject he taught in one way or another. In reality, it was just an amazing way to spend 2 weeks in Europe. One year he took a student's brother with, since he needed an extra person to have the minimum amount of required students. After the 10-hour flight, the flight attendant walks up to him and asks if said brother was a part of his group. He says yes. Apparently, on the flight he stopped the flight attendant and asked her to have sex with him in the bathroom. She denied, but he continued to ask her several more times through the flight. It reached a point to where she no longer felt anywhere near comfortable. She asked my teacher if she could notify the authorities and have him sent back to the States. He agreed. There were no immediate flights back home, so a distant relative of his had to be contacted. He stayed with a relative he had never even met for an entire weekend. He was then put on a flight back home the following week. Pilot here, late to the party as usual, but sometimes the passengers may be having a nice quiet flight in the back while the pilots are up front dodging thunderstorms and yelling their heads off. We will not only transport dead bodies, but also live transplants, like hearts and lungs. I particularly like the live transplants, because we get to cut to the front of the line for takeoff and we get all the shortcuts to our destination. Well, I was on a vacation with my family to Thailand a few years back, and while we were on the plane I had the sudden urge to poop. So, I went to the toilet, opened the door, pulled my pants off and proceeded to do my business. While I was pooping, however, the air hostess suddenly knocked on my door saying, "Sir, you need to get off the toilet." There were no reasons given. I was only on there for a few minutes and wasn't even done with pooping. Suddenly, after a few more knocks, the hostess flinged the door open and said I needed to get off. I felt violated and said, "I'm not done yet." She then closed the door, so I wiped my butt in a hurry, pulled my pants up, opened the door and passed the hostess. That exchange of eye contact was one of the weirdest moments in my life. Here we are 4 years later and I still don't know why she wouldn't let me poop in peace. Damn poop disturber. Edit. Changed, pulled my pants off on. I didn't penguin waggle my way out of the stall. Sorry to disappoint. Like and subscribe if you duck.